The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly before Admiral Park as he stood motionless at the viewport of Earth's orbital defense station. His weathered hands were clasped behind his back, the artificial lighting casting a soft glow on his worn features. The first signs of the Imperial fleet had appeared just hours ago, massive shapes emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Lieutenant Kim sat at her station, her fingers moving with practiced precision across the holographic displays. The defense station's sensors tracked the approaching vessels with perfect clarity. Each Imperial ship dwarfed anything humanity had ever built, or so the Empire believed. Their massive hulls gleamed with an otherworldly metal, casting long shadows across the lunar surface as they moved into position around Earth. "Admiral, they're positioning themselves in a standard siege formation," reported Lieutenant Kim, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. 17 capital ships, over 200 support vessels. Their energy signatures match our intelligence reports exactly. Park nodded slowly, a slight smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. For decades, humanity had watched the Empire expand across the galaxy, studying their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. The Empire had no idea they'd been observed for so long, their every move catalogued and analyzed by Earth's hidden network of quantum sensors. Commander Lee entered the command center, his footsteps echoing in the charged silence. As head of Earth's Unified Defense Council, he'd spent years preparing for this moment. The other staff members straightened at their stations, feeling the weight of history upon them. "Status report," Lee commanded, moving to stand beside Park at the viewport. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," Kim responded, her displays flooding with incoming data. "Standard Imperial First Contact protocols, just as we expected." The message that followed filled the command center, its artificial translation carrying notes of arrogance and assumed superiority. "To the primitive world designated Sol 3, the Eternal Empire demands your immediate submission and tribute. Your technological level has been assessed as Category 4. Resistance is futile and will result in planetary bombardment. You have one planetary rotation to respond." Park turned to face Lee, their eyes meeting in shared understanding. "They're following the exact pattern," Park said quietly, "just like the Centauri system last year and Proxima before that." "Of course they are," Lee replied, his voice carrying a hint of satisfaction. "The Empire hasn't faced real resistance in over 1,000 years. They've become predictable." Around them, the command center hummed with controlled activity. Stations monitoring Earth's hidden defenses showed all systems at full readiness. Quantum phase generators buried beneath every major city were online but dormant. The planetary shield grid waited in standby mode, invisible to Imperial sensors. In deep space, Earth's true fleet remained cloaked and motionless, surrounding the Imperial Armada in a massive sphere of hidden firepower. "Sir," Kim called out, "we're detecting energy buildups in their weapon systems. Standard intimidation protocol. They're probably planning to destroy one of our orbital satellites." Lee nodded. "Let them. Everything in orbit is expendable, just empty shells hiding our real capabilities." He moved to the central command station, his fingers hovering over the communication controls. "Time to give them our response." Park watched as the Imperial ships continued their positioning, their crews no doubt expecting Earth to react with fear and panic like so many worlds before. They had no idea they'd just sailed into the most elaborate trap in human military history. "Send them our message," Lee commanded, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Let's show them what happens when they threaten Earth." Lieutenant Kim's fingers danced across her console, initiating the carefully prepared transmission. As the message began broadcasting, Park turned back to the viewport, watching the Imperial ships loom against the star-filled background. After centuries of preparation, humanity was ready to reveal its true face to the galaxy. The Empire had demanded tribute from countless worlds, breaking their spirits with overwhelming force. But Earth was different. Earth had been waiting, watching, preparing. And now, The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. In the artificial gravity of the station, Park felt weightless with anticipation. Humanity's greatest gambit was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Imperial commander stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, his tall frame towering over the crew of lesser beings who served him. The ship's interior glowed with the soft purple light that all Imperial vessels used, a reminder of their supposed superiority over the primitive races they encountered. When Earth's response came through, he expected the usual pleas for mercy or desperate offers of submission. Instead, the main screen filled with the image of a human female. Defense Minister Song sat straight-backed in what appeared to be a simple command center, her dark eyes fixed directly on the camera with unflinching confidence. "Greetings, Imperial Commander," she began, her voice carrying none of the fear he was accustomed to hearing. "I am Defense Minister Song of Earth's Unified Council. We've been expecting you." The commander's serpentine features twisted in confusion. His scaled skin shifted colors slightly, a sign of his unsettled state that he quickly tried to control. Around him, his bridge crew exchanged uncertain glances. This was not how first contact scenarios usually played out. "We have watched your empire for centuries," Minister Song continued, her calm voice filling the bridge. "We've seen the worlds you've stripped bare, the civilizations you've enslaved. This is your only warning. Leave our space, or face the consequences of your choices." The commander let out a harsh laugh that echoed across the bridge, his long fingers gripping the arms of his command chair. "Display their defensive capabilities," he ordered one of his subordinates. The data scrolled across a secondary screen. Primitive satellite networks, a handful of small space stations, and a modest fleet of chemical-powered vessels. Nothing that could even scratch an Imperial destroyer, let alone his entire fleet. "Fascinating," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out briefly. "They've managed to decode our language and study our activities, yet they still believe they can stand against us." He turned to his communications officer. "Send them my response." The commander rose to his full height, his ornate armor gleaming in the purple light. "Primitive world," he began, letting contempt drip from every word. "Your knowledge of our language is impressive, but it will not save you. I have personally overseen the conquest of 1,000 worlds. Your defiance, while amusing, is futile." To his surprise, Minister Song's expression didn't change. If anything, her slight smile grew more pronounced. "We are aware of your conquests, Commander. We watched as you subjugated the Centauri colonies. We were there when you decimated the Proxima resistance. Your pattern is predictable. First contact, demands for tribute, a show of force, then systematic exploitation of resources and people." The commander's scales rippled with growing anger. How dare this primitive creature speak to him this way? Around him, his crew grew increasingly uncomfortable. This was not proceeding according to any first contact protocol they'd experienced. "You seem to have gathered much information about us," he replied, his voice dangerous and low. "Then you should know what happens to worlds that defy the Empire. Perhaps a demonstration is in order." He gestured to his weapons officer. "Target their largest satellite installation." "One more thing, Commander," Minister Song interrupted, causing him to pause. "We should inform you that we've already disabled the targeting systems on your entire fleet." The weapons officer's frantic voice cut through the silence that followed. "Sir, she's right. Our targeting computers are showing complete system failure. But that's impossible. Our systems are isolated and protected." The commander's scales shifted to a deep red of rage. "Fix it," he snarled. "Now. I suggest you check your engine systems as well," Minister Song added, still maintaining that infuriating calm. "You'll find them equally unresponsive." Throughout the Imperial fleet, panic began to spread as system after system reported failures. Somehow, this primitive world had reached into their most secure networks and shut them down with terrifying ease. "Who are you?" the commander demanded, his composure finally cracking. "What are you?" "We are humanity," Minister Song replied simply. "And we have given you your warning. You have 1 hour to restore your systems and leave our space. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. The commander stood frozen, his mind racing. In all his centuries of service to the Empire, he had never encountered anything like this. These humans had somehow compromised his entire fleet without firing a shot, or even revealing their true capabilities. For the first time in his long career of conquest, the Imperial commander felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. What else were these humans capable of? What other surprises did they have waiting? As his crew scrambled to restore their systems, he stared out at the blue planet below. Perhaps, he thought, the Empire had finally met its match. The Imperial commander's rage had reached its peak. After hours of humiliation and system failures, his technical crews had finally restored basic functions to the fleet. His first order was immediate and brutal. Teach these humans a lesson they would never forget. Target their Mars colony, he commanded, his scaled fingers drumming against his command chair. Show them what happens when they dare to mock the Empire. Deep within Mars Defense Station Alpha, Colonel Han watched the Imperial fleet's movements with practiced calm. The massive station, buried kilometers beneath the red planet's surface, hummed with quiet energy as hundreds of personnel monitored their stations. "They're moving into attack position," reported Captain Moon from his sensor station. "Looks like they're planning to hit the decoy settlement in Valles Marineris first." Han nodded, her eyes fixed on the massive holographic display showing the Imperial fleet's formation. Everything was proceeding exactly as Earth's strategists had predicted. The Empire always followed the same pattern. When challenged, they would attempt to demonstrate their power by destroying something valuable but not vital to their target. "All personnel, battle stations," Han ordered, her voice carrying through the underground complex. "Prepare for Protocol Omega." The Imperial fleet's weapons charge, their energy signatures lighting up the sensor displays like miniature suns. They had positioned themselves in a perfect bombardment formation above the Martian colony, exactly where Earth wanted them. "Enemy weapons at full charge," Moon reported. "They're targeting the settlement dome." Han allowed herself a small smile. The settlement below was nothing but carefully constructed props and empty buildings, designed specifically to draw Imperial fire. The real Martian colonies were buried deep underground, protected by layers of technology the Empire couldn't even detect. The first Imperial shots lanced down from orbit, brilliant beams of energy that would have vaporized any normal structure. Instead, they splashed harmlessly against invisible barriers, their power dissipating into nothingness. "Shields holding at 100%, reported Lieutenant Kang from the defense grid station. "They haven't even touched our outer layer." The Imperial fleet paused, clearly confused by this development. Then they opened fire with everything they had. The Martian sky lit up with hundreds of energy beams, all striking the invisible barrier protecting the surface. Han watched the power readings with satisfaction. Every shot the Empire fired was being absorbed and redirected into their defense grid's power banks. The more they attacked, the stronger Mars' defenses became. "They're bringing in their heavy cruisers," Moon announced. 5 capital ships moving into position. "Perfect," Han replied. "Wait for them to commit fully to the attack." The Imperial capital ships moved ponderously into position, their massive weapons charging for what they surely thought would be a devastating strike. The Empire had used these same tactics countless times before. When precision failed, they simply increased the power until nothing could withstand it. "Enemy fleet fully committed," Moon reported. "All their capital ships are in optimal position." Han straightened in her command chair. This was the moment they had prepared for. "Send the signal to Earth Command," she ordered. "Then activate the planetary grid." Across the surface of Mars, the red sand began to shift and ripple. Thousands of hidden defense platforms, concealed for decades beneath the Martian surface, rose smoothly into position. Each platform housed weapons specifically designed to counter Imperial technology, created through centuries of careful observation and research. The Imperial fleet's attack faltered as their sensors registered the massive deployment of defensive weapons. But it was already too late for them to retreat. The trap had been sprung. All platforms online, Kang reported, his fingers dancing across his control panel. Grid power at maximum, ready to engage on your command. Han took a deep breath, savoring the moment. The Empire had brought their finest ships and their most powerful weapons, expecting to find a helpless colony. Instead, they had walked straight into humanity's killing ground. "Target their primary weapon systems first," she commanded. "Let's show them what real power looks like." The surface of Mars came alive with energy as thousands of defense platforms opened fire simultaneously. The Imperial fleet, caught completely by surprise, had no time to raise their shields before the first wave hit them. In orbit, the mighty ships of the Empire learned a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. Their supposedly impenetrable shields failed under weapons they had never encountered before. Their powerful armor, designed to withstand any known weapon, began to buckle and breach. Han watched with grim satisfaction as the Imperial fleet scrambled to respond. But they had already lost the initiative, and now they would pay the price for their arrogance. The battle for Mars had begun, and the Empire was about to learn that humanity had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. General Choi stood in Earth Command's Central Operations Chamber, his steady gaze fixed on the massive holographic display showing the entire solar system. Around him, the command staff worked with quiet efficiency as centuries of preparation finally bore fruit. "Mars defense grid performing perfectly," reported Colonel Shin from her station. "The Imperial fleet is completely engaged. They've committed 90% of their forces to breaking through the defense platforms." Choi nodded slowly, watching the Imperial ships waste their firepower against Mars defenses. Every shot they fired was playing directly into humanity's hands, charging the quantum capacitors hidden beneath the Martian surface. "Power levels at optimal threshold," announced Major Ko. "The quantum hangars are ready for activation." Choi straightened his uniform, a simple motion that carried the weight of history. "Send the signal to all fleet commanders," he ordered. "Begin Operation Revelation." Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum hangars began to power up. These massive structures, phased slightly out of normal spacetime, had concealed humanity's true military might for decades. Inside them waited ships that would shatter everything the Empire thought they knew about physics and warfare. "First wave emerging now," Ko reported, his voice tight with anticipation. The space around the Imperial fleet rippled like water. Massive vessels, their hulls gleaming with technology far beyond Imperial understanding, materialized from seemingly nowhere. Earth's quantum fleet had been designed with a single purpose: to counter and destroy Imperial technology in every way possible. Captain Yoon's voice came through the command channel, clear and confident. "Thunder Squadron in position. All ships reporting ready." On the holographic display, Yoon's ships appeared as bright points of light, surrounding the Imperial fleet in a perfect attack formation. Their quantum phase drives allow them to ignore normal space limitations, moving through the Empire's defensive screens as if they weren't there. "All ships, execute Protocol Omega," Choi commanded, his voice carrying across all fleet channels. The response was immediate and devastating. Thunder Squadron struck first, their quantum phase torpedoes passing straight through Imperial shields. The Empire's supposedly impenetrable defenses meant nothing against weapons that could slit between the fabric of space itself. The Imperial flagship's hull, built to withstand any conventional attack, offered no more resistance than paper. "Direct hits confirmed," Yoon reported. "Enemy flagship's primary systems are disabled." Moving to secondary targets, the Imperial fleet's formation dissolved into chaos as more Earth ships emerged from quantum space. Vessels that had been hiding in dimensional pockets throughout the solar system now revealed themselves, catching the Empire's forces in a massive three-dimensional crossfire. They're trying to regroup, Shin announced. Imperial command ships are calling for reinforcements. Choi allowed himself a small smile. Let them call. Activate the quantum disruption field. Throughout the solar system, hidden satellites powered up, creating a web of energy that cut off all Imperial communications and faster-than-light travel capabilities. The Empire's fleet was now trapped, cut off from reinforcements, facing an enemy they couldn't even understand. Captain Yoon's squadron struck again, their ships dancing through space in ways that defied Imperial sensors. Each attack passed through the Empire's defenses as if they didn't exist, striking with surgical precision at vital systems. Enemy fleet showing signs of panic, Ko reported. Their formation is breaking apart. Multiple ships attempting emergency jumps to hyperspace. None of them will succeed, Choi said quietly. The quantum disruption field ensured that any attempt at faster-than-light travel would fail catastrophically. The Empire had walked into humanity's domain, and now they would pay the price for their arrogance. Throughout the battle, Earth's quantum fleet moved with perfect coordination. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic had been designed specifically to counter Imperial technology. Centuries of careful observation and preparation were now bearing fruit in a display of overwhelming superiority. The Imperial commander's voice suddenly broke through on all channels, its usual arrogance replaced by desperation. What are you? How is this possible? Choi stepped forward, his voice calm as he responded. We are humanity. We have watched you conquer and destroy for centuries. Now you face the consequences of your actions. Around the solar system, more quantum hangars activated, releasing wave after wave of Earth's true military might. The Empire was about to learn that they hadn't discovered Earth. Earth had allowed itself to be found, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The battle continued, but its outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this day, and the Empire was about to learn just how badly they had underestimated the people of Earth. In the depths of an underground facility on the Imperial capital world, Dr. Ba sat before a simple terminal, her fingers hovering over the activation sequence she had waited decades to initiate. Around her, hidden quantum computers hummed softly, ready to send the signal that would change the galaxy forever. All resistance cells report ready, her assistant Cho whispered, passing her a data tablet showing green status lights from hundreds of worlds. They're waiting for your command. Dr. Bai took a deep breath, thinking of all the generations of human agents who had worked in secret, building this network. Some had spent their entire lives establishing deep cover identities throughout Imperial space, slowly positioning themselves in key locations across thousands of star systems. Send the activation code, she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Protocol liberation is now active. Across the galaxy, carefully hidden quantum transmitters activated simultaneously. The signal spread faster than light, reaching every corner of Imperial space in seconds. On hundreds of tribute worlds, human agents who had lived their entire lives in secret received the message they had been waiting for. On the mining world of Kepler 186F, the Imperial overseers were the first to fall. Their security systems, secretly compromised years ago, turned against them. Worker slaves they had abused for generations suddenly found themselves armed with advanced weapons that seemed to appear from nowhere. The resistance leader there, born human but surgically altered to appear alien, directed the uprising with precise efficiency. Everything had been planned and rehearsed in secret for years, waiting for this moment. On the agricultural world of Proxima B, massive hidden bunkers opened beneath the endless farming fields. Inside waited stockpiles of weapons and technology that Earth had smuggled in piece by piece over decades. The local population, trained in secret by human agents, knew exactly how to use them. Reports coming in from all sectors, Cho announced, his eyes wide as he watched the data flood across his screens. 97% of resistance cells successfully activated. Imperial control is collapsing on over 300 worlds simultaneously. Dr. Ba nodded, monitoring the cascade of information. The Empire's command structure was already showing signs of strain as desperate reports poured in from every direction. Their supposedly loyal subjects were rising up everywhere, armed with weapons that shouldn't exist, coordinated by leaders who seemed to appear from nowhere. In the Imperial Palace itself, high-ranking officials who had served the Empire for decades revealed their true identities. Humans who had undergone extensive genetic modification and lived entire lives in deep cover now moved to seize control of vital systems. The quantum communication network is fully operational, Cho reported. All resistance forces are coordinating perfectly. The Empire can't jam or intercept any of our transmissions. This was the true masterpiece of Earth's plan. While the Empire relied on traditional faster-than-light communications, humanity had secretly built a network of quantum-entangled transmitters throughout Imperial space. No power in the galaxy could block or intercept these signals. On the industrial world of Ta City E, automated factories that had produced weapons for the Empire suddenly switched production. Hidden programming activated, and assembly lines began manufacturing advanced Earth-designed weapons instead. By the time Imperial security forces arrived, the planet's workers were already armed with these new weapons. Imperial response times are exactly as predicted, Dr. Ba noted, watching the Empire's fleets scramble to respond. They're spreading themselves thin, trying to respond to too many uprisings at once. This too had been carefully planned. Earth had deliberately engineered simultaneous rebellions across such a wide area that even the Empire's massive military couldn't effectively respond. Every time they suppressed one uprising, 3 more would break out behind their lines. The Empire's carefully maintained control was unraveling hour by hour. Centuries of oppression had created a galaxy full of people eager to fight back, and Earth had spent generations secretly preparing them for this moment. Dr. Ba stood up from her terminal, walking to a window that overlooked the Imperial capital city. Soon, the Empire would realize that humans had infiltrated even their most secure stronghold. But by then, it would be too late. "Send the second phase activation codes," she ordered. "It's time to show the Empire just how completely we've compromised their society." As the signal went out, more sleeper agents activated. Imperial ships found their crews turning against them. Security forces discovered their weapons wouldn't fire. Communication systems broadcasted messages of rebellion instead of Imperial orders. The greatest empire the galaxy had ever known was about to discover that its supposedly absolute control had been an illusion. Humanity's patience and planning were finally paying off, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kang stood at the command center of Earth's flagship Horizon, watching as Imperial battle groups burned their engines hot, desperately trying to reach the Sol system. The massive holographic display showed hundreds of enemy ships converging from all directions, just as Earth's strategists had predicted. "They're committing everything they have," Captain Nam reported from her tactical station. 7 major battle groups detected, with more breaking orbit from their core worlds. Kang nodded, his expression calm despite the massive force gathering against them. The Empire was reacting exactly as expected, pulling ships from every corner of their territory to crush this unprecedented rebellion. In doing so, they were leaving their worlds defenseless, playing right into humanity's hands. "Status of the quantum net?" Kang asked, his eyes fixed on the approaching Imperial fleets. "Operating at full capacity," Lieutenant Moon responded. "All resistance cells are linked and awaiting final coordination orders." The quantum communication network, carefully hidden throughout Imperial space for generations, was humanity's masterstroke. While the Empire's ships rushed to defend their core worlds, they had no idea that every planet they left behind was about to explode into carefully coordinated rebellion. Multiple Imperial vessels attempting faster-than-light jumps, Nam announced. "They're trying to converge on our position." Kang allowed himself a small smile. "Activate the quantum disruption fields." Throughout the sector, hidden satellites powered up, creating a web of energy that made faster-than-light travel impossible. Imperial ships found themselves trapped in normal space, forced to burn their engines at conventional speeds. "Send the signal," Kang ordered. "All ships implement liberation protocol." The response was immediate and devastating. Earth's quantum fleet, hidden in dimensional pockets throughout the sector, materialized around the trapped Imperial ships. Each human vessel carried weapons specifically designed to counter Imperial technology, the result of centuries of careful study. "First wave of Imperial ships engaging," Nam reported. "Their weapons are having no effect on our quantum shields." The space around them lit up with energy as the battle began in earnest. Imperial ships fired their most powerful weapons, only to watch them dissipate harmlessly against Earth's defenses. The Empire's supposedly superior technology meant nothing against quantum phase shields. "All squadrons, execute attack pattern Delta," Kang commanded. "Target their command ships first." Earth's fleet moved with perfect coordination, their quantum drives allowing them to ignore normal space limitations. They passed through Imperial shields as if they didn't exist, their weapons striking with surgical precision at vital systems. Across Imperial space, the carefully planned uprising was reaching its climax. On hundreds of worlds, resistance forces armed with Earth technology launched simultaneous attacks. Imperial garrisons found their weapons disabled by hidden programs, their communications jammed by quantum interference. "Reports coming in from all sectors," Moon announced, his voice tight with excitement. "Resistance forces have taken control of 30 major Imperial worlds in the last hour alone." The Empire's massive military machine, spread thin trying to respond to too many threats at once, was beginning to crack. Their rigid command structure, used to dealing with simple rebellions, couldn't handle the complexity of this coordinated assault. "Enemy flagship attempting to coordinate their forces," Nam reported. "Should we take them out?" "No," Kang replied. "Let them see what's happening. Let them watch their empire crumble." The Imperial command ships' broadcasts filled their communication channels, desperately trying to maintain control as reports of defeats poured in from every direction. World after world was falling to the resistance, armed with weapons that shouldn't exist, coordinated by a communication network the Empire couldn't detect or block. "Their formation is breaking up," Nam announced. Multiple ships attempting to retreat. But there was nowhere for them to retreat to. The quantum disruption fields trapped them in normal space, while Earth's faster ships picked them apart one by one. The mighty Imperial fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was being systematically dismantled. "Send the final phase signal," Kang ordered. "Let's end this." Throughout Imperial space, the last sleeper agents activated. High-ranking Imperial officials revealed themselves as deep-cover human operatives. Military commanders turned their forces against their former masters. The Empire's carefully maintained control dissolved into chaos. Admiral Kang watched it all from his command center, knowing that generations of planning and preparation had led to this moment. The Empire had thought themselves invincible, masters of the galaxy. Now they were learning the price of their arrogance. The battle continued, but its outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this day, and now the greatest empire in galactic history was falling to a force they hadn't even known existed until it was too late. The great hall of the newly constructed Galactic Assembly shimmered under the light of 3 suns. Located on a neutral world at the heart of former Imperial space, it housed representatives from thousands of freed worlds. The massive chamber, built with a blend of technologies from 100 different species, buzzed with anticipation. Director Park stood at the central podium, her simple Earth uniform standing out among the varied dress of the assembled delegates. Behind her, the Earth delegation sat quietly, their presence a reminder of the power that had shattered the Empire. "The war is over," Park began, her voice carrying clearly through the perfect acoustics. "The empire that once claimed to rule eternal has fallen. Now we must decide what rises in its place." Throughout the chamber, translation devices hummed softly, converting her words into hundreds of different languages. Each species present had their own story of imperial oppression, their own tale of how Earth's hidden agents had helped them break free. Many have suggested that Earth should take control, Park continued, that we have proven ourselves worthy to rule through our victory. She paused, looking out over the assembled representatives. We decline. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. After demonstrating such overwhelming military and technological superiority, everyone had expected Earth to simply replace the empire they had destroyed. We did not fight to replace one empire with another, Park declared. Earth stands ready to help build something better, a federation of equals, bound by respect and mutual protection. In his office on Earth, Admiral Lee watched the broadcast, a small smile playing across his weathered features. On his desk sat a yellowed report, dated 2 centuries earlier. It detailed humanity's first detection of the Empire and the beginning of the long game that had led to this moment. The Empire taught us what not to do, Park continued in the assembly. They ruled through fear and force. We propose something different, a union of free worlds, each maintaining their own culture and identity, but working together for the common good. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates considered this unprecedented proposal. Earth, rather than seizing power after their victory, was offering true partnership to worlds that had been subjugated for generations. Lee picked up the ancient report, its pages crisp despite their age. The first human scouts who had detected the Empire had made a crucial decision. Rather than revealing Earth's existence, they would watch and prepare. That patience had paid off beyond their wildest dreams. In the assembly, Park outlined a proposed structure of the new federation. Each world would have equal representation. Decisions would require consensus. Military power would be distributed, preventing any single world or species from dominating the others. We offer our technology freely, she announced. The quantum communications network that helped coordinate our victory will become the backbone of our new alliance. No more secrets, no more hidden power. Together, we build something that has never existed before, true galactic democracy. The chamber filled with cheers as species that had been enemies under imperial rule embraced the possibility of a different future. Centuries of oppression were giving way to hope. Lee set down the report and walked to his window, looking out over the rebuilt city of New Seoul. Humanity had sacrificed much for this moment. Generations had lived and died in deep cover, maintaining their secret war against the Empire. But the result was worth every sacrifice. In the assembly, Park made her final declaration. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. Earth extends its hand in friendship to all who wish to join us in building a better galaxy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Delegates rose to their feet, their cheers echoing through the massive chamber. Species that had been bitter enemies found themselves united in support of this new vision. As Lee watched the celebration unfold on his screen, he thought of all those who had worked in secret over the centuries to make this possible. The Empire had never understood the power of patience, of careful planning, of working together toward a greater goal. The long game was over, and humanity had won not just a military victory, but something far more valuable: the chance to build a better future for all species. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what Earth had been working toward all along. The dawn of a new age had arrived, and this time, it would be built on cooperation rather than conquest. The Empire's eternal rule had lasted less than a day against Earth's centuries of preparation. Now the real work could begin, creating something that would truly last forever.